Welcome back, my dear friends. A very good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you who are watching this set of videos. The course title is Multi-Criteria Decision Making, which is a NPTEL MOOC course spread over 12 weeks, which consists of 60 lectures. And as you know, each week there are 5 lectures, each for half an hour. And as the norm is, after each week we have assignments, that is, there are 12 assignments, and obviously there is one final examination. And my good name is Raghunandan Sengupta from the IME department at IIT Kanpur. This is the 42nd lecture, that means we are in the 9th week. And if you can see this slide, obviously the broader point still continues to be the same. The main umbrella point or set of points is multi-criteria decision making. Under the other one, which was multi-objective, we have discussed. Now, this is the third class, we are considering the concepts of multi-attribute concepts, or the decisions where more qualitative and subjective concepts come into the picture. Now, if you remember, we were discussing about the TOPSIS method and the idea of putting the criterias, what were the values. If you remember, I did use the word there as a hypothetical example. Now, the answer may change. Say for example, the decision based on buying a car and considering the set of number of cars which are there in front of me may be same as they are in front of any one of you who is going to take a decision. But the way we both individually will try to analyze the weightages as well as the overall importance of, say for example, one criteria, safety, or consider the color, or consider the price, or consider the maintenance, they would be different from different persons. The criteria is remain the same, the overall importance over the way you look, over the amount of value which you accrue and add up to the criteria corresponding to the alternatives would definitely change. Somebody, say for example, likes a German engineering car because they are very sturdy, very safe. So, obviously, for him or her, safety features for a German car would be much more than, say for example, for any other type of make of car from any other country. Or somebody, say for example, he or she wants to buy only Indian car because Indian cars are quite good, some of them are really good. So, in that case, any Indian car, depending on the importance he or she wants to face or place on the safety features, price, maintenance cost, mileage would differ. So, there is no absolute right, absolute wrong in trying to analyze the answers. That is point 1. Point number 2, if you remember, we have put weights, and in the last problem, both in buying the house as well in the Excel sheet we were doing, I was mentioning the total weight should add up to 1, which is the criteria's importance. But what importance you or me place on the criteria, say for example, for the case when we are planning to buy a car, may differ. So, see for example, again I am trying to highlight in the same example, for me safety features is important, mileage is important, cost is fine, because even if I get a very safe car, a little bit costly, I am fine, mileage is good, a little bit costly is fine. But say for example, for some other person who is also going to make a decision of buying the car, he or she would basically think on the cost. So, there is nothing, as I said, sacrosanct absolute truth. So, based on that the analysis is being done. And this the ideas which I am talking about TOPSIS and how you give the weights, how you give the utilities, how you do the normalization would more or less remain the same. Only the way trying to analyze the problems for the TOPSIS method, Electra method, Vicor method, each will change at the last set of steps. So, considering the problem which we are discussing, buying an apartment, 4 choices and the different type of parameters and criteria are given here. They are 11 in number. I will read the first and the last one, you can have a look, which is already discussed there in the slide, the last lecture. They are starting from city and goes on to resale conditions. Now, if you remember, I have also highlighted, say for example, price, loan availability, I highlighted with red, because more the price, stricter the loan availabilities are, or conditions are higher, it is a negative cost for me. So, I will basically try to analyze them from the point of view of NIS, how close or how far they are from the negative solution. While number of bedrooms higher, good. Safety features for the locality where the flat is, apartment is quite good, then it is good, positive. If the facilities available is quite high, there is gym, there is a doctor, there is a medical store, there is a walking way, park, there is a place for children to play, there is a place for elderly people to come and gossip and chit chat. So, those would basically add up as a positive point. Hence, I will try to find out the PIS, how close it is. So, even if in the problem as we solve, we will be following one procedure, but that categorization into two subsets of positive and negative can be done, and the analysis can be done accordingly. Now, here considering the example, we will continue. So, this would be, I will consider the square. So, based on the x values which I have, so there are, I will write it on this side, and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So, it is the same problem of buying the house. So, alternate is 4, 11 criterias, and here the size of the matrix, as you can easily fathom and understand, of size 4 cross 11, 4 being the number of rows, 11 being the number of columns, 4 is basically the number of alternatives, 11 being the number of criteria. I normalize them. The normalization I use is basically square. So, this square is missing, but it is square. Now, again I am repeating, please bear with me. The normalization could have been like Rij is equal to ln of Xij divided by sum of ln Xij. Other could have been like using just the norm. So, in place of ln, I can use of Xij divided by the sum of Xij's only, but remembering the fact the sum adds to up to 1. So, I use this normalization, and if you remember, the normalization is being done based on the concepts of the rows. Now, remember one thing, in the Excel sheet which we did, the normalization was done column wise, and then the sum was found out. So, here we will be doing the normalization row wise, and then the sum or the max would be found out. So, the normalizations are based on the fact that I consider the values as here. So, let me take the values for better analysis. So, I will take 2 minutes and copy them. I have the values as 45.5. So, this is C1, the criteria 1, C2, C3, C4, C5, C6, C7, C8, C9, C10, C11, and I have A1, A2, A3, A4, and I will mention this as X matrix. So, if I take the values, so give me some time, 2 minutes, 40, 66.7, 9.2, then 1.80, 1.3, 2.3, 1.6, 4.8, and 3.1. So, let me see if I can copy the values, because they have been used written in equation editor. Let me check. If possible, it will be great. No, it is not possible. I have to basically do the writing part. So, that means we do not waste time. 50, then 33.3, 83.3, 8.5, 8.5, then come to 1.5, 1.3, 0, then 2.4, 2.4, 3.3, 1.6. So, this completes alternative 2. When I come to alternative 3, 40, 42.9, 62.5, 6.8, 13, that is 1.3, sorry, 0.8, 0, 1.2, 1.8, 4.2, 2.2, and finally, the last values are 41.7, 25, 77.8, 10.6, 2.3, 1.8, 1.9, 3, 3.2, 3.8 and 1.3. So, this is done for matrix X. Now, if I have the weights, if you remember, the weights are given as, we will calculate it. So, the weights are given as here, I will calculate it and then continue. So, these are weights, and if you remember, these are the weights for the criteria. So, I should have so, these are the weights already done. So, let me put the weights 0.119, 0.106, 0.115, 0.090, 0.113, 0.061, 0.113, 0.096, 0.065, 0.058. I missed something, let me check. Is 0.19, 106, 115, 090, 113, 061, 113, 096, 095. So, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So, it should be 11 also, 0.19, 0.106, 115, 090, 113, 113, then 061, then wait, 064, 113, the next is 616, yes, sorry. So, they move. And after 113, so this would come here and the last value comes is 0.064. So, now the values for each cell is 0, because I am only finding out the weights accordingly. So, this basically principal diagonal is the only value, other values are 0. Principal diagonal values if it is not an identity matrix. And if I follow this, so I am copying it accordingly and do the calculations immediate. So, this value gets copied. So, this is the matrix of the weights I will highlight. So, this I will put as W. So, these are the weights. So, I will use green color and double check. One should double check the weight should add up to 1. I come to the matrix X, which I will highlight with different color, say for example, yellow. So, these are the non normalized. So, if I want to normalize them, I mentioned is at R. So, I use yellow color and the normalized R. Consider I am using the simple norm. Now, by the way, when I am using the simple norm, remember the corresponding summation I am doing it along the rows. So, this is for each alternative sum I think I should put a no, and remove this onto the right. Why? I will tell you. One cell to the right. Yes. Now, this the sum along the rows are same fixed. I copy it. So, let me see they are copied correctly. The formulas have been copied correctly. I want to find out the sum. So, this would be sum of all of them. So, if you see the sum is 1. So, when I copy for the second one, obviously the summation is now different. D sum of D29 to its M29. So, this is C29. So, this would be the next value, which is 30, C30 till M30. So, I copy it, value should be 1. So, it is done. If I come to the third value A3, so it should be done from 31 till M31. I copy all the values, let us double check, sum 1. Finally, I copy for the fourth alternative, it is C 32 till M 32, sum all the normalized values and the sum is 1. So, this is the normalization based on simple the value xij divided by the sum. Now, I want to find out the multiplication value, which I will mention as per the slide, let me mention as V. So, now if you remember the size given for the normalized one, this is the normalized one, which is R, and W are different. So, in the case of R, it is basically 4 cross 11 and for W it is 11 cross 11. So, if I want to multiply, I will start the little multiplication here. So, the product of 2 rows. So, I will basically consider whole set here, comma, whole set value here. So, if you see, this is the cell of V I have. So, I highlight it with red. I will not put all the cells red because it will be difficult to visualize. So, I will put red. So, these are the values which I have. Now, once I have the values of V, what I do is that, so this cell I will use as a slightly different color. Let me check if it comes, no, if it is not visible, let me go. So, these are the cell values which I have corresponding to the fact, another thing I should remove here. So, technically this is A1 to A4 and this is C1 to C11. So, what these cell values mean is basically the overall effect of each criteria depending on which cell it is, multiplied by the corresponding weightage which I am going to give as a decision maker for each criteria. Remember, weightages are based on the criteria only, not on the alternatives. So, once I have that, I go back here. So, I have found out the values. So, if you by the way, the values which you see here are and for the cell values which is here are different because the normalization concepts are different. So, consider if I use the normalization like this. So, let me verify that. So, there should not be any confusion. If I find out the square, right, and I find out the sum of the squares, so it will be so this is the first cell C29 square plus I am using a totally different normalization. So, this is C30, so this is D30. So, then next value would be it will be E, because I am going row wise. It is F, it is G, it is H, it is I, it is J, because again row wise if you follow, K, L, M. So, all squared up values. So, if I find out, the value would comes out to be 250963. If you go back to the normalization which we did earlier, obviously it will be different. So, if I want to copy again and keep a look at the red values, they will change. Weights are not changing, the overall V matrix is changing. So, in this case, if I have to freeze the cell values row wise. So, I have frozen them. So, once I copy, double check what I said, that see the sum is 1. So, different normalization is used, but the sum would definitely turn out to be 1. Now, if I want to follow the same concept, so obviously here normalizations are based on the fact is 29 place now is 30. So, this becomes 30, this again becomes 30, because the row has shifted by 1 unit gone below. So, is H 30 now, then it is I 30, J 30, L 30, M 30. So, if I follow, again the values come out to be 1 right hand side. And obviously, if you have checked, which I said, the cell values are also changing. Now, let me go back to the calculations which we did. So, they are back to the case which I considered for the simple normalization. Normalization means the value divided by the total sum of that row. So, this is the initial part. So, again the sums are 1 as they should be. Now, considering V, why I showed that? Because different normalization will give you different results. Now, having found out V, let us proceed. So, once I have multiplied, this multiplication already done, I found out the V matrix which is here, where column and row for A and C, A being alternative, C being criteria, are marked in yellow and the cell values are in red. Now, I proceed to the case. So, basically I find out the max. The max would be based on the corresponding criteria which are basically utilized. So, I find out it will be for j is equal to 1 to n, and considering that the values of the cells which I have. So, I will try to find out the max and min. Max here, min here, I find out the max. Max weightages for each criteria. I put it, I find out the mean. Now, considering for this lecture I have a short time, I will explain few things and do it in the next lecture. Now, remember in the C1 to C5, so here which I am highlighting, I have not mentioned anything about the importance of the positive side or the negative side, like the cost, maintenance, higher bad, lower good, safety, maintenance considers safety, facilities, higher they are, number of rooms, higher they are better, lower they are worse, maintenance cost, higher it is bad, lower it is good. So, I can basically classify them into two categories of criteria, which I am not doing here. So, once I find the max and mean, I can go ahead and find out the S plus and S minus and do the ranking accordingly. So, with this I will close the class and continue discussing in the same set of slides, and obviously the slides would be shared the moment much before you start, and so and obviously you are going through the lectures. So, pay attention only in this part of TOPSIS, electro and whatever we are basically discussing from the slides also and in the Excel sheet, because different ideas would give you different ways of trying to normalize it, and also answers would change. There is no right or wrong answer, there is a way subjectivity is considered in these examples. Thank you very much and have a nice day.